So greetings, I'm with Ashish Pradhan, boss of Siegwerk. Been with Siegwerk for 10 years and with the packaging industry for the last 35 years. So welcome to PAMEX, day one.
Thank you.
And pleasure to have you. The first question for you is a sort of easy, slow, full toss. 27 days gone, another 300 days to sort of, walk through. What are your sort of general overall trends and gut, feeling about the industry, and in what direction are we heading?
Well, I mean, 27 days into the year is probably just a teaser, right? So we cannot really know what to expect because I think we all now know that the world is changing so rapidly.
Sure.
I mean, what we used to call it as VUCA, I think you introduced me to a nice word
Right.
called VUCA 10x. I couldn't agree more. So it's very difficult to really predict how the whole year is going to pan out.
Sure.
But there are a few, let's say, inviolables that are always there. So in terms of the growth, there could be months where we see a little bit of a dip. There would be months where we see a little bit of a spurt.
Sure.
Right. So that kind of a dynamic is not going to change because I believe the intrinsic, let's say, drivers which are driving this dynamic are well in place, whether it is demographic dividend, whether it is the low per capita consumption of packaging, and so on and so forth, right?
Sure.
So that stays. The other dynamic that definitely is not going to change is the high focus and pressure on costs.
Right.
Because while we talk about all the nice things in the industry, the one thing that I have personally seen change over the last 30 years plus that I have spent in the industry is a relentless pressure on costs.
Okay.
And this is driven primarily because of the gap between supply and demand. And while the gap narrows a little bit sometimes, the moment the gap narrows, more people invest and the gap increases again.
Sure.
And the more the gap, the less is the competitive advantage that the industry has versus, let's say, the brands.
Sure.
And that results in a cost pressure on the converters, which then gets transmitted right down the line.
Got it. Understood.
So that's another dynamic that's never going to change. The rest, I believe, are trends that are I would say long-term trends.
Sure.
But they will take time to evolve, whether
Sure.
it is sustainability, whether we talk about product safety and regulation, the PSNR, the food safety angle. They are all there, but they will develop much more gradually than what was earlier anticipated.
Noted.
So I would say overall, if you ask me, I would say top line for most companies should be relatively healthy. The key topic would be what we make of it and what trickles down to the bottom of it.
Understood. Yeah. Couple of quick sort of responses. One is, of course, you sound bullish, which is great.
Yeah.
Secondly, I mean, obviously you're CEO and, you're looking at overall operations, not just in India, but elsewhere in Asia. But in addition, a massive responsibility to your customers, be it converters and also their customers, which would be brand owners, etc. So two things I really want to know from you. How does this pan out? I mean, do you look at it as sort of long-term, mid-term, or a series of short terms, which are 15 days? Or then you look at the macro picture, which you've presented, and then break it down into tiny bits and, have your tactics and strategy based on that. So, I mean, this question is also basically on behalf of the, the packaging converting industry.
Sure. No, so for me, how I look at it is, I think you touched upon two words there, right, when in your question. One is strategy and the other is tactics.
Right.
So I think we often mistake tactics for strategy.
True.
And for any leader, I would say the primary focus should be to separate tactics from strategy.
Understood.
Strategy is all about long term. And I have a very simple definition of strategy. Strategy is matching resources to opportunities.
You're right.
Yeah, and so whenever we look at long-term opportunities, you have to invest your resources there. So if you look at India, now I maybe switch a little bit to India's specificity now.
Sure.
Now, if I look at India, the long-term opportunity is there for everyone to see. It is indisputable.
Correct.
Right? Whether you, as I said, the demographic dividend, government policies, the low per capita consumption of packaging, all these are indisputable.
Sure.
So even though there could be a year or a couple of quarters where you see a dip, you cannot question these intrinsic drivers.
Understood.
And that is your strategy. So you have to base your strategy. So as a Asia head, for example, I have a portfolio of regions.
Right.
In the end, I am managing the portfolio of regions and markets.
Got it.
So in that, every market, whether it is India or a Southeast Asia or a China, right? I have to look at what are these long-term drivers or long-term mega trends,
Right.
you can say, and then I have to manage my regional portfolio.
Right.
So for me right now, India is a growth market. I must invest in India because these intrinsic factors are only going to accelerate in the next few years. If I look at China, for example, the economy has been sluggish for some time, and we expect it to be sluggish for some more time. Consumer confidence is down, consumer demand is down. So it will be foolish for me to just look at China as the world's largest packaging market, in which we as in Siegwerk have an underproportionate, let's say, position, and keep investing, because that's not going to how it's going to pan out, because there are well-entrenched players.
Right.
So I would rather refocus my product portfolio and market segmentation in China and be more efficient, be more profitable, rather than going after growth.
Right.
Whereas in Southeast Asia is a nice combination of profitability and the growth dynamic.
Nice.
So I have to balance this whole thing. So this is what I would call strategy,
right,
which is not going to change year to year. I would have a 5-year strategy.
Got it.
Right? Whereas then you look at within strategy, then you have to look at tactics, because while it's nice to say I have this strategy, I have to also deliver on my year-on-year results.
That's true.
Because that is what is going to fuel my strategy. If
Got
I don't generate profits year-on-year, how do I ensure that I maintain my focus on the long-term strategy?
Understood.
And that's where I have to be agile. That's where I have to adjust my tactics to make sure that I generate profits year-on-year in each of the markets that we operate in.
Makes sense, yeah.
So that's how I would look at it. And there's, in fact, there is no one formula. For the VUCA 10x has thrown all formulas in the bin. So I would say one of the things that one needs to accept in this such situation is decision making in uncertainty. A lot of us, when I say us, I mean leaders, would like to take decisions where everything is analyzed and then it's a fairly straightforward decision.
Yeah.
Those days are gone, in my view, Ramu. I think today you will at the most have 60% of the information needed to make a significant decision. So I would say backing yourself up and taking that decision in uncertainty is going to be one of the key factors for leadership success as we go along.
So who do you listen to? I mean, economists who are equally clueless, or, hands and ears on the ground?
I think both. I would say both, because hands and ears on the ground are also influenced. Everyone has a bias, right? We all have biases. But you have to look at different sources of information which can also contradict each other. So otherwise you can get into what is known as group thinking.
Yep.
And then you want to believe what you already believe.
Got it.
Yeah, and then it's like a confirmation bias.
Yep.
So I typically try to speak to a varied cross section of people. One is the grassroots, whether it's my salespeople or when I meet customers and so on and so forth. The other is the economists.
Right.
I read a hell of a lot, but also then I look at what do brands talk about more and more, because that is really a bellwether of how the industry is going to do. So the more contradicting the views, I would say the more rich the decision making.
Makes sense.
That's how I look at it.
Works. Yeah. All right. So many things you've taken up. It almost is like a mini Harvard Business Review sort of masterclass, right? So one of the things is China, and almost everybody has a theory on China or AI. And usually they don't seem to be, understanding what is going on. You have been, in a way, president and, overseeing operations in China and been able to obviously turn around the business in China. So 2 questions really: what's really happening, and what's the sense, we should get from China as a packaging economy, packaging ecosystem, and as a packaging fraternity, lessons and challenges that we need to pick up from China. Yeah.
A great question. Actually, there are several.
Sure.
See, the thing is, China. What is the? If I ask you a counter question,
Sure.
if I say China, what's the first word that comes to your mind?
Confucius theory or something like
that.
that.
You're more of a philosopher. But most people would answer growth, right?
Right.
Big market,
Sure.
growth.
Of course.
And that is the preconceived notion that people have when they go into China, when people set up businesses in China. And that, I would say, to be wary of that. That's the first lesson I learned, because when I went into China in 2018, 2019, as the head of China
so
at
that
that
is
time.
2 years after you took over the CEO position in India.
Yes, 2 years after that. Correct, you're right. So there, I could very quickly understand that there is growth, but that is not necessarily profitable growth. Because there are the landscape is very different. There are established players, established local players who have an unbelievable cost position,
right?
Whose products work. So it's not that they sell substandard products.
Right.
I mean, you can differentiate,
but
is the customer willing to pay for the differentiation? So there are a lot of those things. So I would say the first lesson I learned is that don't go with preconceived notions, and there is no copy paste in any market. So every market is unique.
Yes.
So Siegwerk, I believe Siegwerk made a bit of a mistake.
Okay.
And I can openly share this, because we tried to copy paste a successful European model into China. Differentiation, more let's say solution finding for customers. So we are a solution provider, not a product seller. Let's say all that is fine, but at the end of the day, the market needs to appreciate it and has to pay for it.
Got it.
Because there is an investment that goes behind. So that did not happen well, and hence when I took over the business, it wasn't doing so great. So understanding that, so lesson number one: don't go with preconceived notions, and understand what drives the market. The second is that whatever window of opportunity you see, and this is a very important lesson for us in India, that the window of opportunity is not unlimited.
Yes.
There is a certain window, and you got to cash in that window. So now let's say cut to India, we see this opportunity of growth in India, but it's not going to last forever.
That's true.
So we have to, I mean, companies who will be successful will be those who encash on it in that window of opportunity.
Right.
That our population in India will also age is a given.
Correct.
It's a law of nature.
True.
Now you got to hit it before that. Otherwise, you lost the window, right? I mean, the window closes. So this is exactly what has happened in China. The population is not growing; it's declining. The population is aging. Exports, at least to the US, got hit, but of course, China being China, they found a solution to that as well. So that window of opportunity is not unlimited. That's the second part. And the third part is that you have to also understand the position of packaging in the overall value chain. How much power does packaging possess or wield in that whole value chain, right from consumers to the brand owners to packaging, and then consumables and polymers and so on and so forth. And that's a very conscious study that one needs to do, and not get carried away by the overall blah blah that everyone talks about.
True.
So those are three main lessons that I took away. Underlying all this is something that it's very close to my heart, is whatever we talk about, whether we talk about VUCA 10X, the good part about VUCA 10X is that it is not a company specific problem.
Yes.
It's an industry specific problem. Right? So why is it a good thing? Because then you can differentiate yourself from your competition, because at the end, that is the key. How does one company respond to a VUCA 10x differently than the other company is what will be the difference between success and failure.
Sure.
Right? And the main differentiator in my view, the really, really key differentiator, there are several others, right? But is people. Is people. And that's
the crux of the matter.
That's the crux of the matter. People will take decisions who will make the difference between success and failure in a VUCA 10x world. And as I said, going back to my previous statement about decision making during uncertainty, it is people. It's people. So some people will take the percentage of right decisions are much more than wrong.
Yes.
Then it could be well the other way with some people. And that could well be the difference between success and failure.
Makes sense. Because I don't know if you recall, but during COVID, we had a couple of conversations. And I think one of the, I think fab stories, again, one of those unsung, heroes of our industry were the people who were making inks and ensuring that, 24/7 ink was being provided to the various converters.
Absolutely.
And all these sort of, FMCG, pharma, everything was being provided for. All right. We'll just move on because, otherwise. So two things. You're obviously someone who loves trekking. You're also one who manages to find the sort of loneliest corner of the planet and either climb it or dive into it. So we've spoken about VUCA 10x and a bit of the doom and gloom, but there are mountain peaks that you've personally achieved. Just curious to know that in the past 2 to 3 years, what are the mountain peaks that you would say are what you're proud of that you've achieved within Siegwerk? You and the team, and of course the entire, fraternity.
I think there are several, right? I mean, it's difficult to choose one, but if I have to choose one, I would actually choose something which started off as a huge challenge for us.
Okay.
But in the end, we could convert it into, I think, a huge success.
All right.
And that is the fire that we had in Siegwerk India in 2024. And maybe if it's okay for you, what I'd like, I mean, it's a great question because I've tried to reflect on it a little bit. It's also is very similar to trekking a high mountain.
Sure.
Yeah? So my last really high mountain peak was Kilimanjaro in 2018.
Yes, pre-COVID, I remember.
Just pre-COVID, right? Now, to be honest, it's one of the most challenging ones that I have done, and it is one of the most challenging in the world.
It's tricky,
and it's higher than Everest Base Camp.
Sure.
Plus, the terrain is more difficult. So the first thing was what we learned there, and I will draw. Then hopefully I can draw parallels between this and the fire that we had.
Sure.
Right. The first and foremost you need is high amount of physical and mental
stamina,
fitness to even attempt to climb that mountain.
Of course,
and then if I just bring it back to the perspective of the fire, if Siegwerk were not a financially strong company with strong financial reserves, with a strong team, I think it would have been very difficult to overcome the fire. So just to give you a perspective of how large the fire was, we lost 40% of our built-up area in Siegwerk, Bhiwadi. And that's the only plant we have in India.
I know.
40%. So it was really an existential threat for us. So that's the first thing. So to climb that mountain of the fire, we had to be first and foremost fit on a regular basis. You can't suddenly say, okay, now I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro and I'm like 95 kilos with a
bit of
40 inch waist. I cannot do it.
Right.
The second thing is for me is to trust people. And that during that climb in Mount Kilimanjaro, there was a time when I started having altitude sickness.
Oh, okay.
And altitude sickness can be fatal.
Of course,
if you don't look after it. So at that time, I had my guides, and they knew how much I could be pushed on, and they knew what needed to happen the moment this happened, and we had to come down.
Right.
And so I just trusted them. If I did not trust them, I would have probably cut the trek halfway and come back.
Returned,
And the same thing with the fire. We just delegated responsibility, authority, decision making right down to the last level.
Sure.
For people to take really decisions on their own and move on. Otherwise, the speed at which we recovered. So from the fire, within 6 to 8 weeks time, we had more or less the supply chain started up,
Well
which
done.
would not have happened without trusting people. And the third is really backing yourself and
Yep.
taking decisions at, in uncertainty. That's what we did in both cases.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah. So it's interesting we touched upon the factory because we are doing a small exercise at PrintWeek which is called 40 under 40. I mean, there is this sort of misconception that this is an industry of geriatrics like me, but it's not. I mean, you've also met a lot of people who are early 30, early 40s and hungry. So it's a kind of a way of, doffing our hat to them. So we've identified 40 winners from a larger pool of people. And one of the questions that we asked the 40 winners this time is, which are your favorite factories? And of course, the usual suspects have come up, Mercedes-Benz and Nestle and, all of that. And one of the factories which has been repeated, I think, by 7 of the 40 winners is the Siegwerk factory in Bhiwadi. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So kudos. And I think some of them have visited it, post-fire as well, because we did a follow-up, etc. So again, 2 questions, because again, our idea of ink, is unfortunately of that of a commodity, but there's obviously a huge amount of chemistry. There's, so many factors that go it. So what are the couple of things that make the Siegwerk factory what it is? In terms of optimal efficiency, in terms of the research, the science, and, that wonderful laboratory in where all those people are really mixing recipes and creating the magic. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I look at just the factory, Ramu, it is number one, the infrastructure is really world class. So we have bought and installed the best equipment possible.
Okay.
Because we believe, for example, a Chinese bead mill will cost maybe 20% of a Swiss bead mill.
Of course.
So having really the best of equipment installed, because this is for the long term, right? You don't buy a bead mill every second year. Right. It's a little bit like a printing press for a converter, right?
Sure.
You wouldn't buy a printing press every 6 months or a year. So having the right equipment, having the right people, and having the right processes. So I always talk about this PIP, people, infrastructure, and processes. So having the right people, continuously upgrading them in terms of their own skill sets. Maybe getting fresh blood from outside because we don't have those skill sets in the company. Infrastructure, and then the processes. And we have invested a hell of a lot in processes now. We have automated a lot of processes within the company. And the thing is that there is an opportunity for so much more.
That's true.
So much more. I mean, why in a chemical batch process industry, really we should be operating at a zero defect, in my view, a zero defect situation, which we are not.
Right.
And so there is so much more to do to get to that level, which is what we will aspire for when the new plant comes up, or the let's say the upgraded Bhiwadi plant comes up into operation by the end of this year.
Okay. So what does that mean? I mean, more space, more infra.
Yeah. So we have. So when we lost this part of the plant with the fire,
due to the mishap,
we could have. There were 2 options, right? We could have gone with a one-on-one replacement, because that was also a good plant.
Sure.
Based on the, let's say, the insurance reimbursement that we did get.
Right.
That was one option.
Right.
But then we chose the second option, which was we go significantly higher in terms of capability and capacity.
Right.
So we invested a lot on top of what we could recover from our insurance coverage.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, what I would want is more automation. So automation is not necessarily, I mean, when we talk about automation, we immediately think of robotics and these unmanned forklifts going and picking up pallets and all that. I really don't mean that. For me, automation is, let's say, a bead mill. What is critical in a bead mill is that the milling energy, you got to control the milling energy. Now, how do you control milling energy is by controlling the temperature of the water, the flow of the water, and how much of pressure you give in. So these are critical control points. And today what happens, these critical control points are measured. And they are still manually maintained, some of them.
Right.
I really want to go to the level where
Right.
all this is happening on a feedback control. So this
Mm.
is what we will go for.
Right.
This is what where we can then aspire for. Hey,
Mm.
either the product will come out which will be 100% okay,
Sure.
or the machine will not produce it.
Right.
You know, that's the kind
What
of
would this
situation.
mean? Your rheology and your sort of ink tackiness and all these things are
Yeah.
10 out of 10 every time.
Yes,
Yeah,
every
broadly.
time. 10
Yeah.
out of 10 every time. Because
Makes sense.
I believe if the input is good,
Perfect. Yeah.
if your in process
Right.
conditions are fully in control, you
Sure.
must get an output which is
yeah,
in control.
True.
That's been my belief from
Right.
the beginning, and I've worked on the shop floor for still the maximum number of years in my career,
Sure.
and that's been my philosophy, and that's
Right.
where we are going
So
towards.
this would be back in the days when you were at Kapoli or
Yeah, even before that,
before
when I
that, right,
joined PPL at that time,
Oh,
in
right.
1992,
Positive. Yeah. Okay.
as a project engineer, and then
Sure.
then a production supervisor. And
Right.
so
We'll
on
come
and
to
so
that because I think that experience has, in a way, dovetailed into what you're trying to do
Yes.
now.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. So you mentioned PIP. There's one more thing that I'd like you to touch upon is the sort of brain behind the whole thing. I had a professor who was in a way inclined to chemistry in school, and he, one of his mantras was that God, if he exists, is a chemist, because he's always bringing all these, components and whatever. So two things really, that what is the chemistry that is driving a lot of your recipes, number one. And I know it's a lot of hard work, because years ago when one of the Indian ink manufacturers had developed something called flush pigments 25 years ago, and it was a kind of disruptive technology in those days. I know how much of work had gone behind it, 10 years, 11 years, etc. So I'm also trying to understand that is there something in the ink innovation process, in terms of the recipe, in terms of a one size fits all, something that's happening which is churning behind the scene, which could be an answer or a magic wand which solves all our problems or something like that.
I wish there was. Honestly.
Right.
I really wish
Because
it was.
chemistry is complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's always doing it's hard work,
Right.
because I see that there are two types of innovations that one can look at.
Sure.
Right? One is breakthrough innovation, which is
Yeah,
what you refer
yeah,
to,
the
the
flush
pigment,
pigments,
etc., etc. So there is some amount of work that needs to go into that direction.
Of course.
So where we talk about let's say water-based inks for gravure and flexo,
Yep.
for reverse and surface, for
Mm.
extrusion lamination. That's all
Right.
falls into that area with its functional coatings.
Yep.
But the large part of innovation is actually day-to-day innovation on the product side.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, small things. Hey, can I tweak my ink in such a way that the printer can run at 350 instead of 300
Speeds of the machine. Yeah.
Yeah, for a gravure press.
Yep. Yep.
Or for an offset press, can it be a faster setting ink that can give you a faster turnaround time at a offset printer? So this is very undervalued.
True.
As work, because I think there is no headline that I can
Correct.
offer you,
Correct. Yeah.
Ramu, to print in the next PrintWeek edition.
Sure.
But this is what feeds bread and butter
On a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
So I think that I would say 80% of the effort in innovation is driven
Is
here,
there,
and
yeah.
20% is really on the other side.
Yeah.
Basic technologies will not change so
Yep.
much. For two reasons. I mean, it's not that we are looking at nuclear science here,
Sure.
right? So, and the asset base is what it is. So
Yep.
for that asset base, you need to tailor inks that run on that asset base. I mean, a
Mm.
printer is not going to change its asset
Sure.
base.
Sure. Makes
So that's
sense.
how
Makes
it works.
sense. Yeah. There are two focus areas. I mean, I know Siegwerk, I've been sort of going through some of your data, and there are two new areas. One is PSR inks and the other is pharma applications and QSR coating. So two questions really. Any insights, any inputs on what is happening on these two fronts? So Yep.
Yeah, on pharma. So let's say there are, I would say, two aspects. One is PSR as
Yep.
such, product safety and regulation.
Sure.
So that covers a very large gamut
space,
of inks. And we keep working on that.
Yep.
So whether it was a Tolvin story
Yep.
for a few years ago,
Yep.
whether now the whole mineral oil free inks that
Right.
we are promoting, it is still not regulated, but I would hope that at some stage that gets regulated, because that is certainly, mineral oil is a certainly CMR2 category
That's true.
chemical which we need to really get rid of.
Yep.
And we do not consciously use any mineral oil in our sheet fittings, for example.
Yep.
So that is a continuous topic of let's say, it's a belief in Siegwerk, and we invest our resources in that belief. So we just don't talk about it, right? Whether it is BP free, so we do not use any BP. So we don't have a BP. There are companies who say, "Oh, we have a BP free solution," but we do not have any BP based solution at all. So that's the philosophy, and that's what we keep investing in. So that's a broad subject, and then specifically coming to pharma, we have done a lot of work. We have engaged with a lot of brand owners, pharma brand owners.
Okay.
And they have actually specified Siegwerk inks for many of their applications. So there's a lot of work happening on the pharma space, which is I think great, because we are all consumers of pharma. On the QSR side, also I believe there's a lot of potential and opportunity which we are exploring. There are coatings especially which we want to at least bring up to the surface and make the industry conscious of it, because QSR is one of the fastest growing segments in the country today. And that's a segment that really needs to pick this topic up. It's hard work, as you know. PSR is not the most popular of subjects with people. But that's
so the deterrent is what? Cost again? Mainly,
that's another great learning for us. I mean, in the end, even the Tolvin story, in the end, I believe we must combine innovation, or PSR or food safety cannot be an or equation with cost.
That's true.
It has to be, we give this and it is cost effective. And that's what I drive my team towards constantly. And I don't want to be in a situation where the customer has to choose. If I have to go for a more safe ink, then my cost will go up. No, I want to give you a sustainable, a safe solution, which is either cost neutral or maybe marginally cost incremental. Or sometimes maybe, hey, we can give you a cost, let's say, a lot of cost advantage in the solution. So that's cost. One has to understand whatever we come up, and it is not only an Indian market situation.
Of course,
this is a global phenomenon.
True.
Whatever solutions you come up with, you must be cost effective. That's a clear message from the market, and that's something that I have fully adopted as my mantra.
But again, is it possible to sort of re-articulate this position? Because I mean, it's sort of a no-brainer, number one, and number two is that, is there a possibility that as a group and as an industry, we re-articulate our position to brands, as it were, and
we could
go back to them instead of silos?
We could, but at the same time, number one, it's a very fragmented industry.
That's true.
So to have a collective voice to go and talk to a brand is always difficult.
Correct.
The second is, as I said, the whole supply-demand situation is unfavorable, and look, when it is coming to a question of your own existence of a business, then you would rather choose the more convenient option than the more ethical option. So it is difficult for one to do that. So at the end of the day, I believe as a key member of the packaging value chain, it's in my interests and my responsibility that I come to the industry with sustainable, innovative, safe solutions which are also cost effective.
Got it. All right, I'm going to move on because so 2-3 things. This is more your forte: hardcore laminates, hardcore flexible packaging. You've been sort of 35 years, packaging industry, Huhtamaki, PPL, as you mentioned, plus other organizations. So what's the trend you're seeing now? Earlier, it used to be, broadly PEP for laminates. It used to be BOPP, CPP laminates for food packaging, etc. Because obviously there's ink transfer onto materials, and I'm sure that whole conversation is also going on in addition to brands and, converters. You have raw materials who are probably on top of your, tick box. So what's happening in that?
There are several things that are happening now.
Correct.
And the thing is that there's no winning technology.
Right.
So earlier we were talking about the whole monopolymer laminate. that'll sort of flood the market, right?
right.
And that'll
Take over.
that'll
Yeah.
take over everything
Yeah.
that was in the past. Let's say a polyester, polyethylene kind of laminate.
Sure. Sure.
But that has not happened. And now the circle is actually turning 360 degrees, and we come back to polyester, poly as a possible
That's true.
structure which is now deemed sustainable.
Yes.
Why? Because polyester is now rPET, which is recycled polyester, and there is capacity that's coming up in the market, which produces rPET. Now, of course, the ink systems used for rPET are different to the ones that are used on PP or CPP or PE.
Right.
So it's difficult to really say that, hey, this is a winning technology. So we have to, as I said, keep your ear to the ground, be agile, take some. I would say take small bets on many things rather than placing one big bet on one technology.
Sure.
Because that, I think, people who have done that, it's either I win a jackpot or I probably lose my shirt on it, right? So
makes sense.
I would say, because in a situation like this where you don't have certainty of the future in terms of what technology wins, I would be careful in placing one big bet on one big technology.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. So mono is one of the things you alluded to. There's also this whole conversation that's been going on in India, CI flexo and gravure. Has that shift also, or is it still around 15-18% consumption?
So, I mean, I would say still the predominant asset base is still gravure. But I would say more and more flexo. More and more. It's the trend is invariably there that the market will move more and more towards flexo. But there are several factors that also inhibit the growth of flexo.
Right.
Availability of skilled manpower being one. Some amount of compromise in the graphic quality. That gap is reducing.
Of course,
but it is still there. But the trend is there. Now, the key point is that all these trends, Ramu, what we expected, how fast the market to change, it changes much slower than expected. Everywhere. You look at every trend in the market, the trend is there. You cannot say the trend is not there.
Right.
But it is just much slower than what we all expected.
Got it.
So in flexo today, I would say the rate of growth of flexo will be far higher than the rate of growth of gravure. But the asset base of gravure is so massive.
Sure.
You will never let's say outpace that in absolute terms.
Makes sense. Yeah. My dad's a professor of physics. He says two things misbehave all the time: markets and molecules. Right. Just again, picking your brain. So where are you seeing the growth? Sachets, monocartons, self-adhesives.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Right. Everywhere. I don't think there is one area where there is not enough growth.
Right.
I mean, look at probably the one area I would be cautious is the growth in the tobacco sector. I mean, I would say cigarette sector.
Yes.
That's the only because that's where the government is actively, let's say, discouraging people from smoking. So
Sure. Yeah.
That's the only one.
Right.
But otherwise, there's growth. Growth can be had anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah. Again, I'm moving fast now, but a couple of quick things. One is there's something interesting I picked up from your website, and it's a new digital venture where you are connecting with small brands.
Yes.
So again, curious to know what the resonance is in India, especially with the D2C. So we see a lot of these nimble organizations moving a little faster than the rest of the market, and also good in terms of influencing trends. Has that been encouraging? Is it something called Pakiro?
Yeah, that's Pakiro.
Right.
And that's so Pakiro is a platform,
right,
which connects small brands. So basically, it satisfies the packaging needs of small brands.
Sure.
Who do not have the wherewithal to approach a large converter. And so it's a platform that connects converters with these small brands. In some cases, the converters also lose out on that demand because there is no connect. So that's how it is. So Pakiro doesn't manufacture anything. It's just a platform.
Yeah, right. And so when you say small brands, it will be indigenous regional brands who are launching sort of small range SKUs. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. And because the large brands like Unilever and
of course,
we have access to the large converters.
Sure.
So that's moving quite well in Europe. But we
mm.
have taken a decision at the moment to restrict ourselves to Europe.
Right.
So we want to really establish the model and make it seamless in Europe. And once that is done, then we look at other geographies. So we have
Sure.
not moved out of Europe as a geography.
I see.
But as a concept, it's moving very well.
Because we are at PAMEX right now, and there are quite a few digital print manufacturers here. And I think 4 or 5 of them have adopted this with their ecosystem. So I think it just makes sense to.
It's a fantastic opportunity because
Sure.
it is. But at the same time, it is not just about printing.
Of course.
It is about
brand acquisition.
And also understanding about what the product needs as a package design.
True.
What kind of laminate do you need? What kind of structure do you need? What kind of format do you need? And all those kind of stuff. So in Pakiro gains because it is a part of Siegwerk. And Siegwerk has that knowledge.
Right.
So that knowledge is transferred to Pakiro. But if you have, let's say, an Indian company without the backing of a packaging expert who has accumulated this knowledge over a large period of time, will find it difficult because it's not just a printing topic.
Got it. Again, a couple of things. I mean, we've discussed all the big picture things, the economy, the macro stuff, the factory, and all that. And of course, the trends, etc. But you've also been doing lots of small steps, baby steps. So blending facilities, in kitchen advancements, etc. So again, if you can give us a sense of what these entails, number one, and number two is what does this mean in terms of a commitment to the Indian market, and how many foot's on the soldier, I think, which is ultimately the question.
No, I think we have clearly realized that, and I think I hope my esteemed customers would also agree.
Sure.
That one of our biggest strengths is service. So Siegwerk's biggest strength is service. So I believe a company can be successful because of 3 things.
Okay.
Either you can be a product innovation leader, like let's say Apple.
Yeah.
Product innovation leader. Or Samsung. Or you could be a cost leader where you can do the stuff that anyone else can do at the cheapest cost position possible.
Sure.
And then the third could be you could be a customer leader. Right? So we at Siegwerk have clearly identified ourselves as a customer leader. What does that mean? That we allow our customers to have a good night's sleep. A printer worst nightmare is getting a call at 11 p.m. in the night or 1 a.m. in the morning, which I've got several times
of course.
in my past career.
People just call the CEO of Siegwerk.
No.
Good Lord.
More in the Huhtamaki
days,
of course, TPL days when I used to manage a section of the shop floor, or I was a production manager. Hey boss, this job is not going to run. It's coming off the press. If it's coming off the press, that's a huge amount of time lost on the press.
And waste material.
A customer is not going to be satisfied.
Of course.
And you know the kind of pressures the FMCG puts on the printer. So we believe that supplying the right quantity of ink at the right place in the right quality is what makes Siegwerk so special. And then on top, you give additional service. So for us, the CMCs, as we call them, are a very critical component of providing that service. The spot colors within 24 hours and stuff like that. Now, we want to invest in them to make it more automated. Again, coming back to the whole automation story.
And the process simpler,
Make the business processes simpler. And the end, my vision is to have a process like an Amazon, for example, right? You place an order on Amazon. You know exactly when it's going to come. The chances that it comes on that day are more than 99%, I think.
Sure.
And if it's going to be delayed, you get a prompt, and you know where. You don't need to ask anyone.
Right.
Today, if you ask any sales guy of any company today, I think more than 50% of the time of that salesperson is lost in answering calls from customers.
Makes sense.
Mera maal kahan hai?
Sahi baat hai.
You know, and if you can just get rid of that, see how much more productive time that we can actually release in the system.
Right.
So we'll keep investing in that process. Go closer to the customer, improve service, and automate it at the end.
No, makes sense. You know, the Padma Shri awards have been sort of announced, and I always feel, you know, when I listen to ink makers such as you tell stories, I always feel that at some point of time, an ink maker needs to get this Padma Shri or one of the Padmas, simply because for two reasons. One is this, the production of material which happens constantly. And secondly, this thing of being an ink doctor in a way and transferring knowledge on a almost minute by minute basis.
Actually, there's one very important point that people miss.
Ji.
I had the privilege of working for a company called Henkel.
Of course,
before
yes,
I joined Siegwerk.
Prior to, yeah.
And when I shifted from Henkel to Siegwerk, I said, "ठीक है यार, अभी adhesive बना रहा था, अभी
inks banana
शाही बनाऊंगा." In Henkel, maybe the numbers have changed slightly, but at least at that time when I left the company, 80% of the sales of that company, or even 90% of the sales of that company came from 10 to 12 SKUs.
Yeah.
Today, Siegwerk sells more than 3,000 SKUs.
Yeah.
Which make 80-90% of our sales.
Right.
That is the kind of complexity that any ink company, not only Siegwerk, any ink company would manage.
True.
And that's something that is a little bit underrated, unfortunately, in the industry, because no one really appreciates to run one successful job on a gravure press.
Correct.
Or a flexo press or an offset press needs 8 components from the ink to go well.
You're right.
To get the right output.
Makes sense.
Not one sheet of board.
Correct. No, absolutely. So, just a curious question. I mean, you have two sort of very intelligent and beautiful daughters. I'm always wonderstruck as to how do you explain what you do to them? Because I mean, they're citizens of today's times. I'm sure they question everything Papa does, and we are seen as this like toxic, contaminating industry. Is there a way you're able to win that battle at home?
I think the first. That's a battle not only for me, I guess, for everyone in the packaging industry.
Correct.
But I think this was always a topic at home. But when it changed during COVID time, I said, if Siegwerk does not supply this ink to my customer, you will not get this packet of milk tomorrow.
The system collapses. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. True.
Now, yes, we are not ideal. We need to change, and we are making steps to change. But hey, we are. If we are not there, then I think the whole packaging value chain will struggle. We are not in a place like the cigarette industry in Australia, where they don't have any ink on a package. But that's possibly the only instance in the whole world where you have
only
a package
territory.
without ink.
Yeah, that's true.
So to that extent, I think they are a little bit more forgiving now. But yeah, I mean, this is a challenging discussion on the dinner table always.
Of course, But I mean, for me personally, so I'm asthmatic and very, very, aggravated state. So earlier, every time I walked into a flexible packaging, because of the solvent, I would have 3 days of an attack. So now I think 3 things have happened: cleaner air, and you can see the sound levels have substantially got reduced, and you can see the working environment has improved. So I mean, I think it's a place which where we need to be a little more open and invite outsiders to come and take a peek. So. So I know that Siegwerk's also been talking to a lot of the regulators in India, FSSAI, BIS, etc. And again, it's a flurry of notifications, revisions, provisions, etc. Any couple of things that we should be keeping an eye out for? 2 things that you'd like to flag for us?
I would strongly say we are really strongly pushing ahead for a mineral oil ban.
Okay.
Because I think that's really not good.
Okay.
For all of us as consumers.
So this is for food safe or every?
I would say because mineral oil is a chemical. It's very easy to migrate.
Correct.
So for you to say, okay, it's a little bit like toluene, but even more so. That if you have 2 presses, one running mineral oil free inks and the other running mineral oil based inks, you will have migration very fast.
Got it.
Right. So I would say that, and that is also a little bit linked to the board topic, because a lot of the recycled board also has mineral oils.
Yeah.
So that I would say is primarily one topic, and the other topic being really the whole QSR issue, because the QSR is the fastest growing segment, as I said, and a lot of youngsters consume QSR. And from that point of view, we need to make that segment much more safe than what it is today.
Sure. Right. One final question: union budget around the corner. Anything that, in terms of policy input, structural reform, for the finance minister or the team, etc. In case
That's a big one.
Right,
But no,
right.
honestly, I would say, yeah, I would only encourage the government to make ease of doing business much
smoother,
more easy.
yeah,
Let's say, and drive growth. I
right,
think with where we are, growth will generate employment, will
Right.
generate consumption, and that cycle cannot be broken, or
Sure.
the other way around.
yeah,
Generate consumption and then
Right.
employment, or
yeah,
whichever way.
yeah.
But that would be my wish list. Let's say,
Sure.
ease of doing business and
Yeah.
growth.
And final question: you conquered Leh Ladakh last year. What is the plan for 2026? Yeah.
Well, no plans yet. No plans yet. I would. I try to get my younger daughter excited about trekking.
Okay.
Was I successful? Because by the way, my elder daughter has completely said no. Do
Okay.
not call me. I will not come.
Right.
The younger one, I would say, is 60% there.
Hmm.
So I've not given up hope,
Right.
and I will probably take her to another trek this year. But we
Hmm.
haven't decided.
Right. Right. And in hope we shall live. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. And I'm sure soon we can do a part 2 whenever,
Yeah,
inshallah,
absolutely.
you have time. Right.
Absolutely. Thank you very
Laukar
much.
betu.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
take
for
care.
having me.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
pleasure talking to you.
Yeah. So that was Ashish Pradhan, boss of Siegwerk. And please plug into this link below so that you can catch many more of these big interviews. Over and out.